Okay, so welcome to another episode of Asetena Conversations. And today I'm going to be having a conversation with someone that I am meeting personally for the first time, but we are friends on Facebook. And we're going to be talking about something that, first of all, I think she saw the first episode with our friend Niyamo, and she felt safe enough to want to share her story. And today, she's going to be talking about something that people don't share a lot. However, if you are in close circles to a lot of women, you would hear that it happens quite often. So you would wonder why people don't share their stories. So I'm really glad that she's here today to talk to us. So in format for introductions, before we get into the story, um, who are we talking to?
Thank you. You're talking to Doris Dey Brempong. I'm 40 years old, lady, self-employed. I deal in clothing, wooden and clothes, like
Clots.
clothes, yes.
Yeah.
And aside that, I deal in foodstuffs as well.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay. That's good to know. Why did you decide that you wanted to share your story?
To help a lot of women out there who thinks or feels they are in alone. Because of our societal judgment, we hardly open up for others to know they are not going through alone. Even
Okay.
if you are going through it, you are pretending everything is fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the sake of letting people know what we're talking about, what is it?
Miscarriages.
Miscarriages.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your story. But as I did with the first one, before we get into the actual story, do you have any kids?
Yes. I
Are
have
you
one daughter.
are you married?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How has it been for you raising a daughter, and before that one, do you even like children?
I do a lot. Interestingly, growing up, I quite remember my parents, they were teachers. I quite remember them saying all the time that if they've not taken care, extra care, I wouldn't go to school for them. I'd rather be bringing babies home, because I love kids to the extent that if somebody in our neighborhood has given birth, I'm the nanny, basically. I'll do everything for that child. Weekends, when we are not going to school, we are home, I'll go for them and bring them home. So I grew up liking kids, wanting kids all over me. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your story with childbirth, or when you first decided to have children, and how this happened.
Okay. When I decided to have kids, I initially I didn't know there was any problem. But
What do you
then,
mean by a problem?
what I mean by then, that is at the age of 27, I didn't have any child, and I was with a man for close to 4 years then. Okay, and it just dawned on me I've never been pregnant throughout that 4 years. So one morning, it occurred to me, and I was talking about it, that this is not normal to be with a man, sleeping with a man, not that you are protecting, and still no pregnancy. So we need to see a gynae. Okay, we went to see a gynae, the normal routine checkups. They said there wasn't anything wrong. So not long, I got pregnant. Then the first miscarriage happened 3 months after.
The first miscarriage.
Yeah, my first pregnancy leads to miscarriage.
Okay, so when you got pregnant, what were some of the things you were doing, and what was going through your mind? How was the first experience of your pregnancy and losing the child like?
There, it was a mixed feeling because this was something that dawned on me, and all of a sudden, I'm pregnant. So I was happy, I was bubbly. Then I was a secretary at Action Aid. So everything was fine. It wasn't a stressful life per se. Then 3 months, the miscarriage happened, and I went back to the hospital. They couldn't figure out.
How did you feel when you realized it? What was happening that day? Where were you?
Okay, so
What's the
it was a
story?
normal Friday morning for me. I went to work, came back, was feeling fine. I went to see the doctor the previous day, that was Thursday, and for the normal gynae checkup, everything was fine. So this Friday, I was back home after I finished eating, watching TV. Then all of a sudden, I felt the urgency to use the washroom. So there, I realized there was blood stains in the wee. So I didn't understand. Immediately, I called my gynae, and he was like, "That's abnormal, so I should come to the hospital." Yeah. So when I got to the hospital, they checked me, asked me to do another scan, and they said everything wasn't fine. But they would try and see what they can do. So I was on bed for 4 days. They were giving me injections, drips. So after the 4th day, they asked me to do the scan again. And that was when they realized they have to take the rest out.
Right. And how did you feel? How did your partner at the time also feel? Was he with you in the hospital? And
Yes,
how
he
did
was.
you feel? Because that was your first.
Yeah, he was. But then what can he do? As humans as we were crying, to be sincere with you. But the doctors came in. They gave us a psychologist who tried to talk us through that it does happen sometimes. It happens out of anybody's fault. They themselves can't understand why it happens. So the most important thing is after that, what next? So we should rather calm down and seek treatment after that. So after that, it took me another year before I got pregnant again and have my daughter successfully. Then after my daughter, I've been trying again to have more kids. Then that was
How long after your daughter before do you start trying again?
after 2 years.
After 2 years.
Then
Was that also a family planning or that was also another trying without any protection, but it wasn't happening for 2 years?
yeah, there wasn't any protection, there wasn't any family planning, just the natural way, but then it wasn't coming. So
And the doctor said everything was fine.
yes,
As far as they know with you, everything was
yes.
fine.
Funny enough, anytime you go to the hospital, they seems to my test, like my normal checkups, the tests they will ask you to run, the scans, everything is normal. They don't get anything to talk about. So they don't know why I'm going through it. They will say medically everything is fine. That is the report they always give to both of us. So after 3 years, then I got pregnant again. 2 months miscarriage. After
At this point, what was going through your mind, especially after having a child, that you think, okay, everything is normal now? So, I mean, having another miscarriage, did you think?
the saddest part is, you know, our society, you can't open up. So no one knows between you and your partner, you know what you are going through.
Was it the same with the first? You didn't tell anybody?
No, no one knows. So they'll see you and say, hey, won't you add another child, or what are you waiting for?
How does that make you feel?
Sad, because you can't open up to them and say, this is the problem, this is the issue. And they'll still coming back to your face with the same thing over and over. That anytime they see you, the first thing is, hey, ubane ni o nti unfa bi nka ho wo twen den na akwala ba akusu de den. Before that, before I have my daughter, it was like, hey, who knew? What are you waiting for? You understand? Okay, now I have one. Anytime they see you, what are you waiting for? What at all do you want in this world that you have to get it before? Time is running, or do you know you are growing? And it's like, it's become a norm. Anybody that knows you, when they see you, the first thing is, hey, until still, like, you understand?
Yeah.
Then it's sad. Seriously, you can't open up. There's something eating you up already. And people that you think you will get a smile from before you get home will be brushing the same thing on your face. It's not easy.
How did you talk to your partner about it?
Well, at the point, he decided not to bother about anything because after all, we have one. So anytime I want to bring up that issue, he brushed it aside. So I know I don't longer talk about it.
And then,
Yeah.
So what happened after the second one?
The third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one. Miscarriages. So my partner said, enough of this. If really,
7
really,
miscarriages.
yes. If I really, really want to do this, it's no longer part of me, because if he don't want to lose me, see me go through these pains over and over, is something he can't bear again. So we should forget about having another
child.
Was
there a certain trend with the miscarriages in terms of the ones you've mentioned, or that's, I don't know if it's too much for you to talk about, but the second one was 2 months. Was there a trend in the time the miscarriages happened? Were there early pregnancies?
There wasn't any trend any longer. Some goes as far as 4 months, some 3 months, some 1 month. And the only thing I realized is the same pattern. All of a sudden, I wouldn't feel fine. Then I started bleeding, and that's it.
Okay. And at this point, it's becoming something worrisome and even scary.
Yeah.
Mentally,
I was off mentally. You know, this part of the world, we believe in spiritual things as well. So medically, when they are declaring me fit, then sometimes I'll be like, so spiritually, is there something? Then I'll come to my senses again and I'll be like, no. If there were to be anything, I wouldn't have my daughter, because it's the same me. So maybe the time is not right, or maybe I just have to be grateful for the one I have and forget about this altogether. But there are moments I'll close my door and cried, seriously, because my real mom will call me and wouldn't want to hear anything than give birth. What are you waiting for? Doris is like, what is it? You know, and when this is not a pleasant news to talk about, but then unfortunately I have a first cousin who have only one child. Unfortunately, she lost the child. When she lost that child, it became a topic, like I was a family topic. Everybody calls me and use that as an advice why I should add more kids to mine. And I wasn't in a position to explain what I was going through either. So I always take it to cry. I'll cry my head off in my room. I'll come out looking like there's no problem. I'll go to Facebook and fool social media and fool my pains away. Yes, basically, I'll be fooling with friends, inboxes, and laughing all as if I'm aimless. No, the pain was too much to bear. So that was the only thing that was sustaining me at the point. There are points I'm on Facebook fooling. I'm in the hospital bed, like after miscarriage. I'm covering in the hospital bed, but I can't put that in the social media. So you wouldn't know where I was at that particular moment. Yeah.
And was seeing a psychologist, did it happen every time you had a miscarriage, or was after the first one? Only after the first one?
No, not every time, but not after the first only as well. I think I met with a psychologist twice, but what made me not to go again is the same procedure, the same thing over and over. So it got to the point I'm like, I have to psych myself and be there for myself. So, yeah.
And so you think that doing it or speaking to us now, is it helping in any way?
Yes, I don't know for whatever reason, but I've accepted it to be part of me. Not in a happy way, but this is it. There's nothing I can do, or there's nothing that will change this. I didn't call for it. I didn't go and buy this from a store. It wasn't anything that I've done, that's why. It's nothing of my fault. It's just that no one can understand why some of us have to go through it this way. Like this year, I've had 2 miscarriages already.
Alone this year?
Yeah.
And medically, do you seek a second opinion from maybe your current gynecologist? Do you try something else?
Yes,
do you go
if I'm not
else?
lying, I've known the best of the best gynaes in Ghana so far. Not 1, not 2, not 3, and they all come up with the same thing medically. There's nothing wrong with you. So if you wouldn't mind, don't disturb your body again. That's the conclusion. They will hug me.
Don't disturb your body, as in don't
As
have
in,
another child.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
I smile. I smile because I'm like, medically, if there's nothing wrong with me, then it means I can have another child. So I'll keep trying. Then I'll say that to myself, but then I don't tell them.
Okay.
Yeah, because what is more important for me is the medical aspect, to know there is nothing wrong with me, or there is nothing, or there's no danger that I'm in after all this. So when they declare me fit, I'm happy somehow after the pains. Yeah.
And you're wanting to have another child, or even more if possible.
Yeah.
Do you think it's based on the pressures around you, or your first love for kids, like you said?
It's no longer the pressures around me. I've believed I've grown to outlive the pressures. If any pressure would have really, really worked on me, then it's my mom. But I realize it's no longer working. So, but rather I cherish kids that I would just want to have at least two of my own. I have others that I take care of. I have others that calls me mommy all over. But I I'll just love to go through all these pains, and just one day I'll have another one myself, and it will be so fulfilling, like pay off somehow for the pains I've been through. Yeah.
And will you be fine if that doesn't happen?
Yes. I'll be fine in a sense that it's not my fault. It's not something I'm supposed to do that I've not done, or it's not something that I couldn't do, that is why. So I'll be fine.
Okay. What would you like to tell anybody watching this, they're wanting to have children, and the process and the possible disappointments?
What I really, really want to tell them now is, you should get one person out there that you trust, that you can open up to when the pain is too much, when the pressures are too much. You can sit down with that person and open up, like pour out exactly what you are going through. So you could be encouraged, you could be talked to, you could voice out your pains in a way. Because for the very first time that I'm opening up aside my partner to you, I'm more relieved in a sense that at least somebody have heard my story. Somebody have known now that it wasn't my intentions or intentional just to have one child 12 years ago and not add any till now. You understand? Had it not been that open up, you wouldn't know. You also may just think that, oh, Doris have one child and that's it. Yeah.
I have to say that I'm quite honored that you're doing this, and also for this platform. We hope that a lot of people will see this. A lot of people would also share their experiences, and I'm very grateful. I have to say that you're a very strong person, and I hope that your story inspires a lot more other people. And also, we're also going to use this avenue to also help other people out there, especially women who are currently unable to also cater for even their bills when they've had kids in hospitals and everything. So at the end of this video, I think I'll put some information out there for a little fundraiser, and whatever we get from it, you can help us decide which charity we should give it to help other women out there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. And yeah, I hope to speak to you again.
My pleasure always.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.